Welcome to the You Decide podcast. I'm Dr. Tiffany. We are going to bring you stories of ordinary people who have chosen to live an extraordinary life, outside of their comfort zones and into confidence, possibility, and certainty. You are just one decision away from living your most aligned life, because let's get real, that's what we all want. All right, today we have Dr. Angie. Ange is, she graduated with me. So gosh, that was 14 years ago, right? 14 and a half.
Yeah, 14, almost 15 years.
Angie and I had a connection that many didn't at that point because we both had babies in chiropractic school, which you look back, I'm not really sure how we did it.
I think you just do. You don't stop to think about it. That's what I always tell people. How did you do that? I'm like, you just did it.
Yeah,
because if you stopped to think about it, I would stop and cry.
I think I spent more time in Barnes & Noble drinking coffee and eating bagels than going to class.
Yes, I remember that too.
Whoops.
Yep.
All right. So yes, I've known Angie for a long time. Our kids have known each other for so many years. So today we're going to talk about, as we talk with everybody, more behind their, like what they're doing, but who they are. So I just want you to give a snippet, if you could just give a little movie screen as to what life has been like. Like we talk a lot on here about, what we see on the outside as what you're doing right now. People are like, oh my gosh, how is she doing that? I wish I was, we many times miss the whole journey as to how we got there, obstacles that we came across, what we learned from them, and now how we're putting that into play by using our gifts. So when we were talking right when we got on, you said we avoid contrast. I think that is so amazing. Gosh, it's such a visual. I think I need to write a blog on this.
Yeah.
Avoiding contrast.
Because I've been journaling a lot about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I should write a book on stop trying to avoid contrast.
It's amazing because gray is safe. We talk about comfort zone. I talk about comfort zone all the time it's our place of what we perceive as safety and certainty, but it's actually the most unsafe and the most uncertain place that there could be. Right. And so thinking the same with contrast, where the uncomfortable is red and yellow, and how we can accept that. So you talk about where you came from, barriers you came across, what you've learned in the process.
All right. Well, like Tiffany said, I'm a chiropractor, graduated with her about 15 years ago, and I worked in chiropractic offices before that. I was born and raised up on a fishing resort in northern Minnesota, and I was always instilled a really good work ethic. So I always felt like you got to work, you got to work, you got to work, you got to work, you got to work. And now looking back, I feel like I lost a lot of years because I was so just stuck in the rut of life has to be perfect. You got to reach for your goals. You got to work hard, and you're just going to get there and just keep going. And through, whether it was a divorce or a death of my father, or now my mom that has dementia living with me, there's been so many roller coasters of opening practices, closing practices, being a partner, being solo. And I have really taken the last few years, I would say mostly the last year, to really work on me and decide that all this stuff is going to be going on and happening. Mm-hmm. And so why keep continuing to try to make it why have that expectation or make it how I think it should be? And let things unfold and stop trying to avoid the conflict. Because when there's conflict and contrast, that is when I have grown the most in my life. Awesome. I've had 2 or 3 big rock bottoms, and I came out on the other side, and I don't want to say an entirely different person, but pretty much an entirely different person, because I don't want to say I didn't resist, because probably in the beginning you are resisting when you're in a big rock bottom. Mm-hmm. But as I came out of it and became clear as to what had happened, what is happening, you have that choice every day when you wake up if you're going to choose this road or this road. And I bet if you pulled 100 people that know me the closest, they always say, how are you so strong? Or how can you just keep going? And all I can say is, I just pick the road less traveled. And I pick the road that makes me feel good. So I can choose the road that I'm going to sit and wallow and, eat pizza and chocolate and wine all day long, or I can choose to do that temporarily, give myself that little bit of sanity for a half a day and then get back on it. So that's where I feel I really differ than a lot of people that I know. Because I feel like a lot of people are they're trying to avoid the death and the sickness and, oh, that might cause this, or, oh, if I go for this car ride, they're constantly thinking of all the things that might go wrong. And for one, you're going to attract more things that go wrong by doing that. But I think just taking those big hurdles and contrasts that come and learning how to embrace them and almost lean into them.
Yeah.
And not try to avoid it or deny it or stuff it, and really lean into it. And with what's been going on with my mom the last couple of weeks, I kept this like, okay, Angie, what is life trying to show you right now? Because what's happening with her is in part a reflection of what's happening with me right now. So where can I look at the good in this? What lessons can I learn from this? Where can I maybe evaluate my own life to not be so stressed out and overwhelmed about this and go, okay, I can sit here and be stressed out and overwhelmed and crying, or I can let myself have that temper tantrum and overwhelm moment, because I feel you need to express those. I'm not saying stuff that, but express it and then decide, okay, I can sit here and stay in this, or I can lean into it and what can be good out of this.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
When you asked what life is trying to show you, do you know yet? Think of how many people are struggling with chronic disease with a family member or a spouse or a child, unfortunately. How many people are struggling with this and life isn't fair. And right, many times we don't ask what life is trying to show us, or
right.
But do you know?
With specifically my mom?
Yep.
I don't, but I've been putting a lot of thought into it, and then I start getting into my head, which then I go, okay, just let it unfold. Don't try to make something, a thought manifest if you don't know. But that stuff that's come to me is, it's been on your mind for years not to have a practice at all.
Interesting.
Still help people, be a fill-in doc. Maybe open your office, continue to pay rent, because my rent is very minimal where I'm at. Decide on Monday what days you're going to be open. Hey, patients, I'm here today or tomorrow from this time to this time. Maybe I've been getting more requests from businesses to have me bring my table and come to them. And so this has all been going on for the last few months. And I'm just like, why do I even pay for space?
Interesting.
Because it just creates more work. All the taxes and all the overhead and all the stuff.
Yeah. And if it's not joyful, right? I mean, as we talk about, if it's not a heart-centered decision,
right.
Then
part of me is like, right, what's your heart saying? Well, part of me is like, well, I want my hands on people though. I want to still be a chiropractor. So then where is that fall and playing around with that? And then it happens that my mom unexpectedly moved in with me 2 weeks ago, and I want to spend time with her. I want to be with her.
Yes.
And luckily I do have a part-time practice, which is amazing. And I am the boss, so I can just call everyone and say, I'm not coming today, but that's not my value. Right. So right. That's not easy for me to do. Some people are like, yeah, I'm just calling in, canceling my day. I got to be like on my deathbed to do that.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like I set that standard of the importance of chiropractic and the importance of getting adjusted and the importance of following through with your word and having good integrity. So yeah, I'm just kind of tossing around what would this mean, which brings in another thought that I'll share here because it might benefit somebody. In January, my uncle passed away and he left me as the executor of his entire estate. And in his entire estate, there is nothing to give anybody. So it's all mine. And granted, it's not like millions of dollars or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's under 100. But I'm like, interesting, because after all the expenses and everything that's I've been going through, I still have a little bit of that money in savings. And I'm like, maybe I'm supposed to take a couple of months off and be with my mom. And I have that cushion to pay my bills. So it's like, was I put, you think back how it all ties in together. Did he put me as the executor of his will because the universe was lining this up so I would have the cushion to be able to take time off and spend it with my mom? And it's just crazy when you really start to think about how life lines up everything for you.
It does, unfolds as long as we allow it to.
Just take your blindfolds off or take your sunglasses off and try to not see stuff, and you're trying to avoid things instead of looking at everything with a clear perspective. And I'm not saying I don't have those days, Tiff, you know that. You do, but just trying to have that clear perspective and thinking, what's the universe trying to show me right now? Because there's something. So yeah, we'll have to do another one maybe and get back to you about what I figured it out what the universe is trying to show me, because I'll know what it is because it's going to feel good.
Yep. Well, I was just going to say, and it constantly evolves, right? And so what this is teaching you right now is exactly what you just said. It doesn't mean you're searching for an outcome. You're not searching for a result. You're searching for well, this is making sense. How this and this and this, or right. So it's like, how can we be curious? Because we can't be heart-centered and ego-centered at the same time. We can't, we can't look down on our situation with ego, thinking it needs to go this way, thinking we're in charge and so on and so forth. But like how we can, the thing that helps me the most, so many people will ask, how can you tap into energy, get out so fast as a high volume chiropractor? And so I think of like ways to protect your energy and ways to connect or get out of ego is truly grounding yourself. However you need to, that you are responsible for your energy, and thinking of all of the things that you went through. That's part of how you got through everything, is like, what does Ange want right now? What does she need? When I'm really mixed between left, right, brain, heart, ego, whatever, I imagine myself in third person in the corner of a room, looking down on me and everything. And then I'm like, oh shit, that is something I'm just trying to control, or that is something my ego wants, versus like, that doesn't actually feel good. So, how many times you, especially in the last 5 years that I've known you 3 years, right? You have much less control. You have surrendered to a degree that in all my years that I knew you before, you weren't a surrendering kind of gal, right? You were a push, not a pull. So when you said things that I learned through death, divorce, now dementia, like what were those things that helped you surrender, or that helped you feel the pull towards heart and love instead of the push through this barrier and obstacle and, hard work? You just keep on going. Yes, there's persistence, right? But many times we lose the feeling of where we're supposed to be persistent and what we are supposed to let go. Like, can you think of times that you're like, ooh, this is the moment, Ange. Step back and allow what is to come to come.
Yeah, I say that to myself a lot, but I never used to. You're right. Like I was that go push, push harder, push harder. You'll get it done. You'll reach your goals. That's all it's about. And, I would have to say going through my divorce was the most painful thing I've ever gone through in my life. But now I can look back when you say this shift, in this last 3 to 5 years, it's just being okay with, you don't know what you don't know until you know what you didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And learning all those lessons through that and navigating, the children through that and my life and working through it all. And it just brought me to a whole new level of wisdom just about life in general, and wisdom of what I was capable of that I didn't realize. And meaning not just physically capable, but emotionally capable, stuff that I could get through that I had no idea. But now I can honestly look back and say, I don't have any hard feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And
or regret, I imagine.
No regret at all. I never regret anything because I believe everything has a purpose, and total respect, for my ex-husband and what we went through, and just try to send him loving energy because we were meant to be together for that time frame, and we were meant to not be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, I believe, the evolution of life. I don't believe that everyone's meant to be with the same best friend, the same spouse, the same boss, the same front desk person.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we come in and come out of lives, and you have to be able to navigate that and be open to change and creating space and letting that wave happen and getting through that. And then meeting someone like my new husband is just a whole nother level of a soul that I didn't know I could have that kind of relationship with someone. I didn't know what I didn't know until I knew what I didn't know.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And
you did know, though. Your heart knew.
Right.
Once
and so the universe was lining that up. So I didn't know that, for the last 30 years. And he and I just are great energy, and we sync, and the kids have now all seemed to have adapted, and I've really done a lot of that soul searching since the divorce of what is important.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because could I have been a better wife and mom? Absolutely. Did I do anything wrong? No, I don't think I'm a bad person, but we always want to do better and be better, and maybe that had to happen for the kids to have some type of transformation, or for me to, or for my ex to, or for all of us.
Right. Likely.
It brought us all to a new level of whatever is next for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay to make change in your life.
Yeah.
People are so afraid to change. They're so afraid of making a different decision and changing. And because, in my opinion, they're too worried about what other people think.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
I following their heart.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And I think, gosh, how much do we talk about being afraid of what other people think, pleasing when it's not aligned in our values, and so many choices that we make are dependent on what we feel or perceive others will accept. That doesn't even make sense. If we put that much energy just into how we felt, and if our choices were aligned to our values, our whole world would look different. It would have contrast, right? Mm-hmm. We would be in the ups, and we'd be in the downs, and we'd be to the right and to the left, and that's how it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like when you said it, you took some time after your divorce to really evaluate what's important? Do you feel like that changes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not like in the general sense. Yes, I do. It does change. But I wouldn't say like how I've changed in the last 3 to 5 years since that. I feel it changes in the sense of I made that big leap, and now I'm fine-tuning. Mm-hmm. And maybe now with my mom, maybe there's going to be another big leap. I don't know. Right. Or if I end up closing down my practice, or, you know, who knows? I've got lots of things going on right now, but I'm different these last 3 to 5 years because I started to pay more attention to myself and to work on myself. I was working on myself, but I was working on myself in the way that other people were teaching me to do it.
Oh, got it.
You should say these affirmations and mantras. You should read this book. You should follow, you know, this script, and you should do this. And all great. Love all my teachers and coaches, and invaluable. I am who I am today because of them. Mm-hmm. And I give them all the credit because I wouldn't have known all this stuff. But just taking it to that other level of, I will actually take time for myself to meditate, to go sit quietly if I'm about to have a fit about something, or I will ask for help. I never used to ask for help.
Yeah.
It's rare, but I will do it every once in a while. You know, call on my inner circle. I need to just vent, or can you just listen, or can you help me give somebody a ride that whatever it might be. I can ask for help now. I meditate a lot. I just sit and be with myself a lot. I've always been independent, always have no problem being by myself, but I've always kept myself busy.
I was going to say, but being by yourself and being with yourself are two different things.
Yeah.
Tell me that transition.
I think I mean more almost with, because I've always been, I like being alone, you know, I don't have any problems with being alone. I don't have problems with going in a restaurant alone or going to a movie, or I like my alone time. But I would say I always used to keep myself busy. Oh, I'm going to clean the house. I'm going to get all this work done. I have my to-do list I got to get done before the end of the day. Now I will just allow myself to be more within, be more, no, I don't want to do that to-do list. And it's going to still sit there tomorrow, where I would be not being able to sleep at night because I didn't get my to-do list done.
I love it. I think this is a huge thing. The difference between being by ourselves and being with ourselves is one that very few have mastered, right?
Right.
Which is constantly evolving. But being by ourselves how many times do we say we'd love to be in our house by ourselves and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. That is not the same as being with ourselves and being okay being with ourselves. It doesn't mean it needs to be quiet, but truly seeing our soul, right? Not having 7 different masks on, your work mask and your mom and your wife and your home mask and your community mask and all these things that eventually is exhausting, but you still haven't been with yourself. Been by yourself, but okay. So this, just observing you in the last, that's the difference.
Yeah.
In the last 3 to 5 years, that is one of the biggest things I've seen, is just being able to be with yourself. Because us independent women, whose careers are important, we have this challenge between masculine and feminine. We're independent. We typically are okay being with ourselves or by ourselves from some perspective, but we have this identity thing that is not comfortable, right? And
another book title I've thought of is, because what I've done is I've created space for myself.
Yes.
Meaning inner space.
Yes.
We cannot do it all. I don't care what anybody says. I know we're told from the time we're little, you can do whatever you want. You can have whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. You can have it all.
Pressure.
To some degree, there's some truth to that. And I believe that with the universal laws. But what are we sacrificing when you're trying to do it all? Where are you creating the space for you? And with taking on and I knew about meditation, and now I meditate very regularly. That's my time. That's where I go inside, and I'm allowing myself to give myself and create that space for me, and stop trying to do it all. That's what I've done in the last 3 to 5 years. Stop trying to do it all. And it doesn't all need to be done. I don't need to save the world. I thought I had to save the world. I thought I had to save every single person. I can only help the people that want to be helped and are showing up.
Yep.
And I've had to let a lot of that, I got to say, it's my duty to save the world. Part of me, yes, I want to make an impact, and yes, I will do my part, but it's not my job.
No.
And just to be there more for people and patients and listen more. I'm seeing bigger transformations in people than me adjusting them more.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I believe everyone needs to be adjusted. That's not what I'm saying, but teaching them other things to be doing. I'm, as you know, a strong proponent of nutrition, and I do my nutritional testing and help them figure out those energetic toxins and other things that they need, but also teaching them things like, are you meditating? Are you taking even 5 minutes to sit down and breathe? Because most people are not doing that. They're trying to do it all. They're trying to do it all and keep everybody else happy.
Absolutely. So before we close, I just want you to explain a little bit of that, what you just mentioned, what you have added into your practice with all the bioenergetic testing, just for people to have an idea that it's even out there, because I believe the majority of, if we're in the medical world, if that's our first place to go and we're not getting the answers, people don't know where else to go. And on the other side of it, if you are natural minded and you want to add in components of deeper healing, you don't know where to go because it's not out there. Right. So just share a little bit about, obviously you adjust people, you've been doing, or you had been doing NRT, nutritional response testing, for 10 years. Is that what it was about? And now you've kind of pivoted. So just share a little bit about that before we close.
Yeah, I had my master's advanced training in nutrition response testing. It was going great, and then in January, I saw a friend post something on Instagram, and she was holding this kit, and I was like, what is that? And so I'm like, well, put it on your to-do list, Angie. Write it down. You'll get back to it someday. Well, it was like a month later, I came across that to-do list because I hadn't done anything on it yet. And I was like, oh yeah, I was going to check this out. And so I looked into this hair and saliva testing done. You run it through bioresonance testing. So you take a hair sample, you take a saliva sample, and you send it into this lab. And they do bioresonance testing. Bioresonance testing, simplest way for me to describe it, it reads energy. Okay, so just like an MRI or a CAT scan, right? An MRI is just giving you a feedback of different energies that it's seeing, so you know what you're looking at. Same thing. So it'll look at the different Hertz range of 350 different foods and environmental toxins, and then it'll compare your range of your hair and saliva, basically using, hardwired DNA. We don't like to call it DNA testing because people think then it's one of those Facebook DNA tests.
Oh,
you're not them.
Right.
We are not them. This is a private facility. Nobody sees your stuff. No governments are involved. So it'll take your hair and saliva. It'll test the 350 different foods and environmental toxins. It'll test literally thousands of different heavy metals, heavy chemicals, viruses, parasites, molds, bacteria, viruses. It will test 30 different hormones, and then it'll look at all your fatty acids, enzymes, vitamins, minerals. What am I missing?
Hormones.
Yeah.
Did you see that already?
And it'll tell you if you have any deficiencies. So it's about a 10 or 12 page report, beautiful report that you get back. It'll look at 58 different organs and gland systems in your body, the main ones. And then it'll also categorize all your main body systems, your metabolism, your liver function, your respiratory, cardio, nervous system. Great. Tell you how well your adjustments are working. And then it'll score you on a scale of 0 to 100%. How well are they functioning? So it's amazing. My $50,000 worth of nutrition training, I pivoted. I'm like, why would I continue to do something now that I know, now that you know what you didn't know, right?
Yep. Once you see it,
I can't not tell people. I can't not tell people. I can't have integrity and look my patient in the eye and say, you should buy this supplement off my shelf when I don't really know if you need it. And this test will tell us what you really need, because it's going to take your hair and saliva, and then it'll test you against thousands of different supplements, herbs, homeopaths, and create the exact regimen for you based on your hardwired DNA.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
So if people are listening, obviously, if you're a patient or in our practice, you probably have access to me, but so ask me questions.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Not only did it help me with my health, because of course I did the test first, and then I did my family, and then of course my patients, and it's been amazing. And now I actually work with the testing facility, and I train all the wellness practitioners how to implement it into their office. So it's my new jam, and I love it.
That's amazing. And then I think of how that integrates with chiropractic is at a very high functional and nervous system level, right? So
yeah,
I think so many people and chiropractors, if they're listening, there's so much of the, well, I just speak for myself, so much of straight versus mixed, right? Oh, well, first of all,
drives me crazy.
I know. First,
do you eat healthy?
Right. Right.
Oh, well, that's mixing if you eat healthy versus not eat
Absolutely.
healthy. Like,
if we talk about
crazy.
it.
Yeah. Do you get a massage? You're mixing. Yeah.
And
it's so
and
ridiculous.
the state of our society is poor, right?
Yeah.
Health is poor. So how stress is affecting us is high, or resilience is low, or reserves are low. So we're not going to get somebody who eats perfect and exercises and meditates and breathes and does all of these things to then get them to that highest connection levels. And that's what, there's just that tug of war a little bit on what chiropractic is optimal foundation of your brain and body. But people can't let go of the rest of how their body's actually functioning. It's kind of like when a patient would come into our office in chronic disease, we're not going to tell them to start exercising right away.
Right.
Because their resilience is low, right? We got to get that brain firing and dial down that stress response. Then we can start adding things. So, and I think people are missing an option or a means to actually know where to go.
Right. And so many people thinking they can take vitamins or look up something online and go, oh, I have that symptom and I'm going to take this vitamin. And they're not even making sure their nervous system is working first and foremost.
100%.
You can't buy a supplement in my office unless you're getting adjusted.
Yeah.
Because that supplement is not going to do what it needs to do if your nervous system is stressed.
Exactly.
So you got to have the pathway clear for the nutrition to even absorb properly.
Yep. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool
nice
stuff.
Work.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks.
And anybody who's listening who has access to me or Angie's contact information, you guys can reach out to either of us. Any like last little bits that you want to give these people?
Create some space for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, but I prefer to say you need an hour a day. You need more than that. But if you can give yourself 1 hour a day, whether it's to go for a walk, meditate, journal, sit quietly, you need 1 hour a day to yourself and stop overbooking yourself.
Yeah, right. As soon as you feel that churn in your belly, that's your heart saying it's too much.
I'm not saying don't take care of your kids, or if you have, I'm not saying don't do that. But if you can't take care of yourself first, I don't think much else matters.
No.
It's mattering, but you know what I mean? It's just, you're going to pay the price in the end.
Yep.
So.
Thank you so much for listening and being willing to go all in. Ditch the excuses and the comfort zones and make a decision that nothing can stop you. You can find the show notes below, and I'd love for you to share, subscribe, and rate this podcast, but only if you love it.